The Miami Hurricanes are in the process of building what just might be the greatest running back room in college football this season. You have Donchey Jr., Jalen Knighton, Henry Parrish, Cody Brown, Thad Franklin Jr., Travante Citizen, and Terrell Walden. With all of that talent and athleticism, who will truly separate themselves from the pack and emerge as running back number one? If for some reason you still haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I can promise you that this will be the year to pull the trigger and finally do it. Now, I totally realize that it's a little too early to be having this discussion. However, at the same time, I thought it would still be fun to make some predictions for this position group. And I mean, come on, you got people putting out season prediction videos and it's February. Obviously, we'll know a little more after spring, and also just keep in mind that with this prediction, I'm assuming that everyone is healthy and 100% ready to go. So what I would like to do is briefly discuss each of the running backs on our roster, so that way if you're not familiar with them, you can become a little more familiar with them. And then I want to make an official prediction on who I believe will get the bulk of the carries in 2022. Who is going to take that number one spot on the depth chart? And of course, I would love to read your opinion down in the comment section, so please let me know who you think it will be. So let's go ahead and kick this thing off right with Donchey Jr. Now, also keep in mind that, I'm reading off a lot of stats like height and weight and carries and touchdowns and yardage and all that good stuff. So you're going to see me referring to some notes quite a bit just so I don't mix up these numbers. So Donchey Jr., we're pretty familiar with him already. 5'10", 208 pounds. Now, he only had 11 carries for 44 yards last season, but that's because he had a pretty serious knee injury early on in the 2021 season. Actually, the second game of the season against App State. Now, the previous year, Chaney also did not have a ton of carries, but let's keep it real. He was a true freshman. He had some upperclassmen ahead of him. However, he did receive more carries than in 2022. He logged 68 carries for 322 yards and 3 touchdowns. So that averages out to about 4.7 yards per carry. When Cameron Harris went down, Chaney was considered the next man up, and rightfully so. However, going into the 2022 season, when you consider the fact that we have a new running backs coach, a totally different offense, and some extra competition, the top spot is up for grabs. It's free game. No one is guaranteed their spot. A few things I can say for a fact about Chaney, and if you go back and watch the tape, I think you'll agree. The man is explosive, has great vision, and is excellent at picking up yards after contact. Now, if I'm looking for a negative about Chaney, it would probably be that he's either prone to injury or he's just been very unlucky in his first 2 seasons at the college level. But there's no denying that when Donchey Jr. is in the game, he is definitely an every down type of back. You can use him in just about every type of situation. Now, next up is my man Jalen Knighton, aka Rooster, and y'all already know how I feel about him. Now, this guy is probably the fastest running back on the roster. He comes in at 5'10", 190 pounds, and he had 145 carries for 561 yards and 8 touchdowns last season. Now, one thing that really sets Knighton apart is also last season he had 31 receptions for 415 yards and 4 receiving touchdowns. He poses such a big threat in the passing game due to his hands and breakaway speed, and it's truly just wild when you consider the fact that he was our number 3 guy last season. His ceiling is just so high, and he's nowhere close to hitting it yet, and I believe that if utilized properly, there's no reason why Jalen Knighton does not surpass 1,000 yards in 2022. I honestly, guys, just cannot say enough good things about Jalen Knighton. So let's go ahead and briefly talk about the Ole Miss transfer Henry Parrish. Now, if you guys were not aware, both Parrish and Knighton were 2020 recruits, and Knighton came in at 106 nationally, and Parrish came in at 227. Parrish is 5'10", 190 pounds, and he rushed for 553 yards on 105 carries last season. So that's an average of about 5.3 yards per carry, which really gets me hyped up because my man played at the SEC level. Now listen, I'm just not here hyping up the SEC, but there are some pretty stout defenses in that conference. He had 3 rushing touchdowns and also had 21 receptions for 173 yards. Honestly, we owe our new running backs coach Kevin Smith a big thank you for this one because he actually coached Parrish at Ole Miss. Now, even though Smith and Parrish already have some history, they've got that previous relationship at Ole Miss, I do not expect Smith to play any favorites here. However, I do expect Parrish 100% to push for that starting role. And it's also a bonus that he has some experience at the kick return position, which also is the case for Knighton. But we're talking about Parrish right now. So moving on, we cannot forget about 2 running backs who really stepped up for us last year when we needed them most. Cody Brown and Thad Franklin were both part of the 2021 recruiting class. So they're still young guys, but they did get some experience under their belt in the 2021 season. Now, Cody Brown is 5'11", 212 pounds, and Thad Franklin is a little bit of the bigger back at 6 foot, 230 pounds. Brown had 34 carries for 139 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Franklin had 23 carries for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. A lot of Canes fans, myself included, feel like that we didn't really properly utilize the bigger back Franklin because he would make an excellent short yardage back considering the fact that he loves contact and he tends to fall forward. Now, speaking on some positives for Cody Brown for just a moment, he is a very downhill runner who is excellent at running through arm tackles, and he's a quick decision maker. Now, it's a very popular rumor amongst Canes fans that one of those 2 guys, Cody Brown or Thad Franklin, might transfer at some point in the 2022 season. And this is not due to lack of athleticism or Canes fans not liking one of the 2 guys. It's just the fact that, honestly, based on their talent and athleticism, they probably wouldn't have any issues starting at another Power 5 school with less running backs. So it's completely understandable. Now, hopefully we can hang on to both of those guys. If I remember correctly, Brown is out of Georgia and Franklin is out of Hollywood, Florida. So if one of the 2 of them were to transfer, it would more than likely be Brown. But again, we're going to see, what type of workload these guys get in the 2022 season. College football has changed a lot, but if they're given some snaps, then hey, maybe they both stay, and I am on board with that. Now, obviously, for this next guy, there is a lot of hype. Trevante Citizen is the running back in the 2022 class that we didn't think we were going to get, but he does have a lot of experienced backs ahead of him. However, you can't deny the fact that sometimes just pure talent and athleticism can earn you snaps even as an underclassman. Citizen comes in at 6 foot, 217 pounds, and has great acceleration. Just go back and watch some of his high school tape. Surprisingly, he actually played both running back and linebacker in high school, and he put up pretty impressive numbers at both positions. But I don't feel like that he's coming to the college level to be a linebacker. I truly think that his full upside and his future would be at the running back position. And finally, we have the preferred walk-on that I'm pretty hyped about, Terrell Walden. Another running back for us that has loads of potential, and I firmly believe that he can earn a scholarship at the University of Miami. However, considering the fact that we have so many running backs already with experience ahead of him that are upperclassmen, I don't think that Terrell Walden can crack that starting rotation, at least in the 2022 season. There would have to be some pretty catastrophic events that would have to happen, injuries and other various things that hopefully don't happen. But maybe, he could get some play time at special teams because the dude is speedy and shifty. So here we are at the end of the video, and I need to tell you who I think will be RB1 in 2022. I can pretty confidently say, and I'm going to stand in the paint on this one because I really believe it, that Jalen Knighton will be running back number 1 on the depth chart for the 2022 season. There's just too much home run potential with Jalen Knighton to not have him on the field consistently. Literally every time he touches the ball, you're holding your breath because he might take it to the house. And on top of that, you can use him in the passing game more than you can the other backs on our roster. And he, again, is just so fast. Now, I do want to address the fact that a lot of Canes fans feel like Knighton is not an every down type of back. They feel like that he can't shoulder the load of the offense and that he won't be able to handle the sheer amount of carries. However, I want you to remember what he did for us last year, right? Whenever he had to shoulder the load, he had to step up and do his thing. And I think overall he took care of business, all things considered. So when you factor in what he did last year, and then you give him a full offseason with Aaron Feld in this new strength and conditioning program, and I think that Jalen Knighton could just turn into an absolute monster. And if you want me to elaborate a little more, I think at the number 2 spot, it's going to be one of those either or situations. I think it will be interchangeable with Chaney and Parrish. And it's totally just going to depend on the opponent and the yardage needed. But I feel like that it could be either or at that number 2 spot. Both of those guys are very capable number 2 backs, and they could still push at any point during the season for that number 1 spot. So remember, guys, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. You can give me a top 3, a top 5. You can break down the entire running back room, but definitely let me know who your number 1 guy is. And let us not forget that this is not throwing shade at any of our running backs. We want to keep all of them. We want no transfers. And also just remember that it's just a blessing to be able to even have this conversation. We are deep at the running back position, and I'm confident in each and every one of these guys, and they all have their own unique skill set and something that they bring to the table that could contribute to a successful Miami Hurricanes season in 2022. Remember though, guys, we're all one big happy college football family, but at the end of the day, I gotta say, it's always better when you get to rep the U. Coach Coop, peace out.